Hello, Ellie here from Thankful Flow Yoga. Thank you for being here for another one of these YouTube practices. Today we are doing an anti-desk flow. So what I mean by that is we're going to be doing a lot of postures in this flow that are specifically targeting an alternate range of movement to what you might usually do if you're sat at a desk a lot. Even if you're not sat at a desk a lot, these are still great stretches to be putting into the body, and often movements that we wouldn't usually do and stretches that we wouldn't usually necessarily come into. So when you're ready, come and join me on your mat. I would suggest today, as always, having props and blocks to support you in your practice. I think a strap would be useful today. If you don't have a yoga strap, you could use a dressing gown tie instead, or sort of improvise with something that you've got at home. And so once you've found your comfortable seated position, and that could be cross-legged as I am, but that might be legs out in front. Main thing is that we want to be able to come into a neutral position with the spine. So for some of us, that might mean taking a cushion or some blocks under the hips to help us to come into that alignment. And then when you're ready, option to bring your hands to your chest. And we'll close the eyes or take a steady gaze. And start to listen to your breath. Notice the connection between your hands and your chest. Feel the body move with your breath. And draw the chin down to the chest slightly. And this can help to quiet the mind. And as we come into this practice, continue to observe any thoughts passing through, not judging anything, just letting any thoughts come and go, being the observer of those thoughts. When you're ready, start to release the hands and open the eyes if you had them closed. And bring your right fingertips to the ground beside you. And then inhale, sweep the left arm up to the sky. Lift the ribs away from the hips. As you breathe out, come into a stretch. Feeling the left side body opening up. Keep breathing here. Imagine that you're shining your heart towards the ceiling. Sweep the left arm down, bring the left fingertips to the mat. Inhale the right arm up, lift up and out from the waist. Exhale, come into the stretch. Right side body starting to open here. Keep breathing. And release the right arm down. Take a couple of shoulder rolls. And then start to take some movement through the wrists. So flicking the hands. This can feel really nice energetically as well. Sometimes it feels a bit silly. But in an energetic sense, it's nice to sometimes think of releasing any of the energy, anything that's not serving us. Also warming up through the wrists and the arms. And then bring the hands in together, interlace the fingers, and we'll start to take some movement with the hands. Again, this looks like a strange sort of dance move. But really important that we're warming up through the wrists. quite often gets forgotten. Come back the other way. So make sure you go in both directions and release when you're ready. So now we're going to start to bring the right leg out in front of you. So we're lengthening through the right leg, and then this left leg's bent in and the sole of the left foot is on the mat. So see how this feels first. You might want to be working here today for this next pose. The next option from here is to step the left foot over to the outside of the right thigh, and you might feel straight away this deep stretch in the hip space. So we've got an internal rotation of the hip here, stretching deep into muscles in that sort of hips, glutes, piriformis, that area. So once you're here, you can either stay here and work here if that's enough for you, thinking as well about how we want to keep our spine alignment. Maybe you are also then bending the right leg in as well, possibly, which is also then going to start this stretch in the right hip. So see how that feels. Take the option that feels right in your body, and then bring the left fingertips out behind you. Inhale, reach the right arm up to the sky, lift up and out of your waist first, and then as you breathe out, twist to the left, either taking the hug, so the right arm hugging the left knee, or maybe you're hooking that elbow to the outside of the left leg, and then send your gaze behind you. Breathing here in your half Lord of the Fish. Really great twist. So we're twisting through the spine, but we're also stretching the hips at the same time. So there's a lot going on. So really reconnect to your breath here. On your inhales, lift and lengthen. On your exhales, release and relax into the twist. Doesn't necessarily mean that you're coming deeper into the twist. And slowly start to unravel. So unravel from the waist first, and then start to unhook the legs. And we'll get ready to come onto the other. Right leg is hooking potentially over, and then maybe we're bending through the left leg. Just thinking about how this left knee is feeling. If that feels compromised at all, then come back to the lengthened leg and work there. So we don't want the knee to be compromised because of the hip being pushed too far. So just really checking in, thinking about what's right for your body. Then this time we're bringing the right fingertips out behind you. Inhale, sweep the left arm up to the sky, and then twist to the right, either taking the hug with the right leg, or maybe you're taking the hook. Breathing into the pose here, lifting and lengthening on your inhales, releasing on the exhales. Check in with how all the muscles in your back are feeling. Notice what's alive for you today in this practice. And slowly start to unravel from the waist, unravel the legs, and then we'll move over into a tabletop position on your mat. So this is your all fours position. So shoulders above the wrists, hips above the knees, and you can always take cushioning under the knees if that feels good too. So if your knees feel sensitive at all, give them some support. And then from here, we'll start to come through cat and cow. So on your inhale, send your gaze forwards, open across the chest. On your exhale, drop the head, come up and out of the shoulders, round the spine. Inhale, lift the head, shine the heart forwards. Exhale, drop the head, round the spine, bring the belly button in towards the spine, tuck the tailbone in. Inhale, lift the gaze, open across the chest. Exhale, last one, round through the spine. And then come back to neutral position. From here, we'll start to walk the hands out in front. Now, really important that the hips are staying above the knees, and the movement here is really coming from the spine. So as you walk the hands out, you're melting the chest and the forehead down to the mat, the puppy pose. So breathing here in your extended puppy. So it's really stretching through the upper back, so the cervical area of the spine. You might be able to feel it in the neck, the shoulders. So breathing here. And you can always come down onto your forearms here if it's feeling like a little too much for you. So really thinking about what's going to serve you the most in this practice. What does your body need from this practice today? Start to walk the hands back in to tabletop position. And from here, we're going to start to bring this left foot in and see if you can place the left foot between the hands. So coming into a low lunge. And this is where, if you've got blocks or books to support you, that would be really great support to use here. So you can really improvise with something else from the house to put your hands on. And what this does is give you more space. So there's more space between my hands and the mat, which means that I can focus on keeping my space across the chest and my alignment with the spine, as well as come into this lovely stretch. So we're stretching through the right hip flexor. You might be able to feel it in the left leg as well. So knee is roughly in line with the ankle here. If it's coming over, then I suggest moving the foot out slightly and engage through the left leg and the left glute. This is really going to support you as you come into the stretch. So sometimes easing out of the lunge slightly, engaging, getting really strong in that position, and then easing into it is a really great place to be. So maybe you're working with the hands on blocks. If you're quite stable in your low lunge, maybe you can see if on your next inhale, you sweep the arms up to the sky, lift up and out of the waist. And then exhale, sweep the arms down. And see if you can bring the hands to the elbows behind your back. So we're drawing the shoulder blades in towards each other, opening across the chest. Breathing here. On your inhale, keep really lifting up and out of the waist, making space. And release the hands, either bringing them back down to the blocks to give you more space. So these blocks again here, you could be using these because we're coming back to our tabletop position, but you could be using the blocks to give you this space to bring the left leg back rather than having the hands down on the mat and kind of bring the leg back that way. You could use blocks for support there. Now we'll take a break before coming onto the other side. So sit your hips back to your heels and allow your forehead and your chest to sink down to the mat for child's pose. So this is our resting pose. This is also giving you a light stretch through the spine, especially the lower back. So breathe into the body. Notice whether you can feel the breath in different areas of the body. Notice whether you can feel a stretch in the spine. Sometimes you can feel this in the hips. But trying to become as passive as you can in this pose. Start to open the eyes, lift the hips away from the heels. And this time we'll start to come into our high lunge on the other side. So again, I'll demonstrate with the blocks, sweeping. So you can use these blocks here, make sure they're stable, and then draw your right leg through. So coming into the low lunge on the other side. So our right knee is in line with the right ankle. And maybe you're easing off slightly first to find that strength through the right leg, the right glutes, and then from there, melting into your low lunge, getting this lovely stretch in the hips and the hip flexor. Option to inhale, sweep the arms up to the sky, lift up and out of the waist. Exhale, float the arms down. See how it feels to bring the hands to the elbows and get this opening here across the chest. Keep breathing in your lunge. On your inhale, imagine reaching the crown of your head to the ceiling. Exhale, release the breath. Start to release the hands from behind your back. Again, I'll demonstrate how you could be using some blocks here to make space as we shift the right leg back. And then bringing the hands down, grounding through the hands, tuck the toes under, and we'll start to walk the feet in towards the hands. Feet are roughly hip width apart, and we're going to hang down in a forward fold. So see how this feels, bend the legs as much as you need to, and then maybe you'll bring the hands, so lift the chest slightly, bring the hands and take the interlace behind your back, and see how it feels to then drop into your forward fold with the hands in the interlace, finding this stretch across the chest. Lightly bring the weight through the balls of your feet. Breathing here. This is a great stretch to incorporate into your daily routine if you can. So we're really stretching through the backs of the legs, stretching through the lower back, opening across the chest, the shoulders, and then also where we are dropping the head down, so try to really relax the head and the neck, releasing tension from this area. And we're also increasing the blood flow to the head because the heart is lifted above the head in this position. So we're in an inversion of sorts. And this means that we're re-energizing and helping to increase concentration. So it's really good for the brain, the mind as well. It can be a real pose that can help us drop into stillness. But this can also be a pose where you might find that you're feeling a lot of resistance as well. So just sit with however it's feeling for you. We're going to start to release the hands from the interlace, softening through the legs. Really slowly curl the body up to standing with a rounded spine. Healing the body up. Imagine that you're coming up one vertebrae at a time. And then slowly lift the head last. Meeting in our Tadasana mountain pose. From here, take a deep inhale and sweep your arms up to the sky. Lift your ribs away from your hips. Exhale, hinge from the hips, fold forwards. Into your forward fold, soften the legs as much as you need to. Inhale, lift the chest, lengthen the spine, halfway lift. Hands could be coming to the shins or the thighs here. Exhale, float the hands down to the mat, step the feet back. Hover in plank position for a moment, breathing here. You could drop the knees straight down if you prefer. Listen to your body. Exhale, drop the knees down to the mat if you haven't already, and lower the body down so that you're lying on your belly. Inhale, roll your shoulders back, lift the chest away from the mat, cobra. Tops of the feet pressing into the mat. Lower body switched on. Exhale, float the chest back down to the earth. Inhale, pressing through the hands. Lift the body away from the mat, back through tabletop. Tuck the toes under. On your exhale, send your hips to the sky, downward facing dog. You could always take a child's pose instead here. Again, a bit like the forward fold that we did just now in this practice. Downward facing dog is another one of those poses that is great to try and incorporate into your daily routine if you can. For similar reasons, so we're really getting a stretch again through the backs of the legs, through the lower spine. We're releasing and relaxing the head and the neck, and we're also in a slight inversion. So same again with benefits to calming the mind, increasing the blood flow to the head, helping to improve concentration and focus, re-energize. We're also strengthening in this pose through the arms and through the upper body, the core. So lots going on here. But if you need to bring your heels away from the mat and bend through the legs to release the hamstrings, if you've got quite tight hamstrings and calves, this could be restricting you, getting the length in the spine in the downward facing dog. So see how it feels to take a bend through the legs and bring the heels away. And then from here, lift your hips to the sky, find the length in the spine. And then maybe you're starting to move the legs, maybe you're then drawing the heels towards the mat. So we're aiming towards creating a V shape with the body. And squeeze the arms in towards the ears, so really strong through the arms. And on your next inhale, start to step or walk the feet in towards the hands. Lift the chest, lengthen the spine, halfway lift. Hands could be on the shins, the thighs, maybe fingertips come to the mat. Exhale, forward fold. Bend the legs if you need to. Inhale, sweep the arms up to the sky, grow the spine tall. Exhale, bring your hands through to heart center. Now from here, we're going to start to lower back down to the mat and bring your feet into a position that they're slightly further than hip width apart and the toes are pointing out. So if you've done classes with me before, you'll probably start to recognize this one. It's coming into our Malasana. Now start to take a bend through the legs, keeping the spine nice and long. And two different options that I'm going to offer for Malasana today. So if you are familiar with this pose and you want to come into your traditional Malasana, hovering hips above the mat, then come into this right away. If you are working with blocks, bring your block maybe under your hips to support you. Again, bringing the ground up closer to you, giving you more space and taking a little bit of the tension away from the ankles and the knees. So you could be bringing your block here. If neither of those options are working for you, please bring yourself down to the mat for a seated position and work in Malasana from here. So bring your feet slightly further than hip width apart, point the toes out, feet are grounded, and then bring your hands to this prayer position, Anjali Mudra, and use your elbows to lightly press into the inside of the legs. And then imagine that you're pressing the legs back into the elbows as well. So finding an opening and stretch through the hips, through the groin, and then reach the crown of your head to the ceiling. Lots of space across the chest. Breathing here in your Malasana. And start to engage through your Mula Bandha. So thinking about your root lock, which is engaging through the lower abdominals, but also the muscles at the seat of the pelvis. Also, for some of us, the pelvic floor. So this is a gesture of locking your energy in at the root. So we can feel this lock on a physical level by contracting these muscles, but also it's on an energetic level as well. So thinking about Muladhara, the root chakra. So this energetic center, it's a collection of nerves at the base of your spine. So harnessing this energy so that we can then grow up from the root, growing the spine tall, drawing that energy up through, right the way through the center line of energy in the body to the crown of the head. And then from your Malasana, whether you're in your seated Malasana or whether you are in your traditional Malasana, we're going to bring the right fingertips down to the mat. And if it feels good to you, you can shift slightly over to the right. If you're in your seated Malasana, it's going to look a little more like this. And then we're going to take some circles with the left arm. So inhale, reach the left arm up to the sky, and then exhale, circle it back. Inhale, reach the left fingertips up. Exhale, circle back. So moving into this shoulder space. So wherever you are, taking these circles. And then we start to come over onto the other side. So left fingertips come down. Inhale, right fingertips up. Exhale, circle them back. You can flow with your breath here. It doesn't have to be in time with me. Really allow your breath to lead you. Last one on this side. And when you're ready, coming into a seated position on the mat. And legs are bent, bring the soles of the feet to the mat. And feet are roughly hip width apart here. And then bring your arms out behind you, leaving plenty of space between your hips and your hands. I've got the fingers pointing in, but if it feels better for you to have them pointing out, you could also take that option. So we're going to be grounding through the hands and the feet, coming into inclined plane position. So on your next inhale, start to lift the hips away from the mat. Now, if you're working here, that's okay. But we're working towards reaching the hips up to the sky and then dropping the head back. This is a really good alternate range of movement for those of you who are sitting at a desk a lot. So we're stretching through the shoulders. But we're also, this is really good for the nerves, the fascia, the connective tissue in our arms and our shoulders as well. So breathing here. Strengthening the muscles in the back body, the muscles that support our spine. And exhale, release the hips back down. Well done. That's quite a strong one on the arms. So release the hands. Take a shake out with the wrists, the arms, any movement that you need. And then we'll come to our last pose of the practice, Paschimottanasana. So again, really recommend working with a strap here if you can. And with the strap, bring it around the balls of the feet. So bring it around the balls of the feet and then slide the hands back. And we're going to start in a neutral spine position. So crown of the head reaching towards the ceiling. Inhale, lift the ribs away from the hips. As you exhale, coming forwards into the fold, leading with the chest bone. So then maybe you're adjusting the strap, maybe you're bringing your hands further down the strap. And then maybe from here, leading with the chest, using that resistance from the strap to come forwards into your fold with a lengthened spine. So breathing here. Keep thinking about on your inhale, lifting and lengthening, making space, and on your exhale, melting into that space. Feeling into any shakes and wobbles in the legs. This is very common. And then on your next inhale, start to release, come back up to neutral. And bring the legs in back to that comfortable seated position where we started the class. So that could be cross-legged, it could be legs out in front. Bring the hands to the knees, the gesture of grounding. Close the eyes or take a steady gaze and let your shoulder blades run down your back. Take a quick scan of the body. Notice how the body is now feeling. How is the breath feeling? Draw the chin down slightly towards the chest. Perhaps you can notice areas of the body where there's perhaps tension, or perhaps that now feel more open, or maybe you've established some areas of pain. Anything at all that you're observing that you might not usually notice. No right or wrong. It's being in your place of awareness for your mind and your body. And then when you're ready, start to open the eyes if you had them closed, coming back into the physical body. But if you have longer, really recommend dropping into a Shavasana here, or coming into a meditation for at least 5 to 10 minutes. Thank you so much for joining me for this anti-desk stretch flow. I hope you enjoyed it. If you did, please comment and let me know how you've got on. Any requests for future videos, more than welcome. So please do get in touch with me. I would love to hear from you. And as always, details below for my membership and other classes and practices that I offer. So do have a look on there. And I can't wait to hopefully see you for another flow very soon. Bye bye.